Now it's time for today's perspective, and it is a series about, yes, dance, but above all, it's a series about identity and people's search for it. Amandine Gay is the creator and director of Ballroom. It's a documentary series out in France which follows the artistic competition of ballroom culture, where members primarily of the LGBTQ plus community combine fashion, dance and self-expression as well. Amandine Gay is a director, producer, author and activist, and she joins us here on set. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us. Before we talk, let's have a very quick clip of the programme. It's short, but it's also in French, but it just gives you an idea of what it's like.
Let's not play. On est racisé, on est queer, c'est pas facile tous les jours.
C'est une lutte constante. Il n'y a pas des gens comme ça dans les bureaux où on va.
Depuis tout petit, genre, je savais ce que je voulais être. Je voulais être une star.
There you go, gives you an idea of what the programme is like and what it's about. Why did you want to make the film, first of all?
Well, I'm always really interested in family. I think, family building, what does it mean to have a family? And the beautiful thing about the ballroom community is that, of course, there's the performance, there's the glitter, there's the attitude, a lot of shade, a lot of life. But I also like the fact that it's a place for LGBTQ plus youth to come and find a community, find a family. It's actually a family structure. In ballroom houses, you will have like a ballroom, like father, mother, godfather, godmother, princesses. And so for some kids who may be rejected by the family or by the community, they find way much more than a competition, because the ballroom scene is a competition between houses, but it's also a space for them to exist and be recognized and be also guided.
The people in it, I mean, the kind of culture that they're following, I suppose. I mean, it was the dance that was born in New York clubs, isn't it, that they've kind of embraced, really?
Yeah, because for people who don't know about the ballroom scene, it was born in the 1780s in New York, originally from drag queens or from trans women who wanted to be part of pageants, and Black and Latinx trans participants would never win. So they decided to create their own competition, and those balls moved from just beauty pageants to full-on competitions. Yeah. There's dancing, then fashion categories and stuff like that. And I think that because there is a lot of immigration in France too, and a lot of people of color, so it would be more North African and Black people, this thing really translated well in France for the youth, like the LGBTQ youth. And so that's why now we have the second biggest ballroom community in the world. So that's the other reason why I wanted to showcase what Paris was like in terms of ballroom.
I noticed one of those featured in the programme said ballroom is a place that they can feel safe. There's a lot of that in it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I think, in the news, we can see how much transphobia is everywhere, how much white supremacy is having an impact, how much, patriarchy. So having a space where you can be yourself, where you can explore your identity, whether it's your gender, whether it's how you just want to, present yourself to the world, or, also start to work on your career. Because a lot of those kids, they're going to become fashion designers, or they're going to work in the film industry in costumes and makeup and stuff like that. So it's really a place of getting to know yourself, but also of having a perspective on how you're going to be. I grew up, I'm a bisexual person, and I grew up having almost no representation of Black queer people on screen. So when you go to a house, you have older Black or North African queers, or, that can show you that first that they're still here, they exist, and they're thriving, and they are powerful. And that's also something I wanted to show, that, your life doesn't have to be a tragedy. You are not necessarily going to be on your own. You can build other families, and I think you find all this in Ballroom.
And how's it gone down, not just with the audience, but also those who were actually featured in the film?
Oh, it's gone down really well.
You're chuffed. You're pleased.
They're really happy, but it's a pressure for me, because when you are showing your communities, you want them to be represented well. I wanted the ballroom community to be happy. I wanted the people in the house to be happy, to feel, again, powerful when the project is finished. So some of them have been stopped in the subway. They're receiving a lot of messages, on social media. A lot of people want Vinny, the house father, to be their father now. Yeah. So I think, Vinny has even received messages from parents of queer youth who who would be like, oh, I hope you could take my son in your house because that would help them and stuff like that. So I think it's done a lot of good to a lot of people, you know, like we also need a bit of lighter subjects, you know, like this is not an easy time. And so I think for a few, like many of us, seeing a place where people can be themselves and enjoy themselves and support themselves, find community and solidarity, it's really important.
The people you feature, not just in this series, but in your other films, in your books as well, I mean, they're often people who are victims of discrimination, aren't they? I mean, why do you feel that that's what you want to do, to champion their needs, if you like?
Well, I think, you know, like reclaiming the narrative is really important for me because I belong to many communities who've been spoken for a long time or spoken of, but who were never asked how they felt about a subject. So for instance, I'm also a transracial adoptee. So like my second film, A Story of One's Own, was about the experience of international adoptees to show that, that adoption was political. And again, that family building is political, you know, like who gets to adopt whose children, you know, what power imbalances do you have in that? So I think that whether I'm making a film about Black women in France and Europe, France and Belgium, which was the first film, Speak Up, or then a film about transracial, transnational adoptees, or a book about adoption, it's really about showing our perspective. You know, like all the things I wanted to say when I was a kid and could not say or didn't have the tools to say, well, now I'm saying it, but I'm also trying to always build community with it. You know, have other people chime in and be like, this is what it was like for me.
I mean, if you look back into your I was going to say previous life, your life so far, your childhood, I suppose. I mean, you're a Black woman who grew up in France, in a village near Lyon, in central France, studied in Lyon and Paris. You were very much often, the only Black woman in the room. I mean, is that what you think impassioned you to want to push these kind of issues?
Yeah, most definitely, because first, being always the only one in the room is a bit frustrating. You know, like I walk into a production company office and I never see a Black person, or I see a Black person and she's the accountant. And I'm like, oh, why are we never, you know, like in creative position or administrative position? And I think sometimes not being there is also because it's hard to see yourself there because you've never been reflected back to you. So to me, investing, you know, documentary filmmaking or, you know, writing, it's also about giving that. Look, like you can become this. You can become, you know, a teacher, you can become a dancer, whatever, but just like the world is your oyster and you have a lot of opportunities. So I think I'm often, you know, that's what artists often do. Of course, it talks about me a lot. So I'm sort of like trying to give to people what I wish I'd had when I was younger and didn't have.
I mean, listening to you, you're obviously very much an activist as well. I mean, you've got a new book as well coming out as well. If you haven't, I don't know how you found time to write it, but anyway, Vivre Libre or Live Free. Tell us about that. Yeah,
well, I think, you know, that's a program. It's a book about white supremacy as a political regime. And so, it's an essay, an autobiographical essay, because I really believe in the power of telling one's own story to address political issues, because if you give really concrete examples, that is not a moral or even just a political debate. It's really about trying to make people see how it's been for you so that they can understand what those things are. So discrimination, how rooted in policy, in history, in economics even. So to me, it's sort of like, if I want to talk about white supremacy, I'm going to have chapters about like white supremacy and work, white supremacy and friendship, white supremacy and love or sexuality. And this way, I'm trying to make everybody understand that because we are in a system, this system is going to impact white people, but it's also impacting me. Like, I've also been raised in white supremacy, and maybe more so because I was raised in the countryside, in a white family, in a white community. So to me, it's sort of like, let's try to make this as accessible, and it's also the autobiographical part. It's sort of like a trick, you know, like I'm telling you my life, and in the meantime, I can pass some political messages because now you've been hooked by wanting to know what's happening next, you know?
Good to have you with us on the programme today, and good to hear about the film, the series rather, and the book as well. Amandine Gay,
thank you
so much
for
for
having
coming
me
in and talking to us here on France 24 today for today's perspective.